Have you ever wondered what a simple sandwich could do? In Southside Chicago, a little black girl named Destiny didn't think twice about sharing her lunch with a well-dressed stranger at her community center. She had no idea he was Marcus Williams, the tech millionaire worth hundreds of millions. She didn't know he was about to make the biggest decision of his career. And she definitely didn't know that her simple act of kindness would spark a chain of events that would change not just her life, but her entire community. 7 days. That's how long it took for something incredible to unfold. 7 days from the moment she handed him that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, wrapped in wax paper, made with the last slices of bread from her grandmother's kitchen. But before I reveal what this millionaire did, what shocked an entire community and made headlines across Chicago, you need to know the real story. Why was a tech millionaire sitting alone in a South Side community center? What made this little girl, who barely had enough for herself, decide to share her lunch? And most importantly, what happened during those 7 days that turned a simple sandwich into something that would impact thousands of lives? Get ready, because this story isn't just about kindness or success. It's about how sometimes the biggest blessings come from the smallest hands, and how real wealth isn't always measured in dollars. Now, to understand why Destiny's simple act hit Marcus Williams so hard, you need to understand where she came from. In a small 2-bedroom apartment on the South Side, Destiny lived with her mother Lisa and her grandmother, Big Mama Rose. Their home might not have had much, but it was rich with something money couldn't buy: wisdom passed down through generations. Lisa, Destiny's mother, wasn't your typical single mom. She was a warrior, working 2 jobs, days at the hospital cafeteria and nights cleaning offices downtown. Every morning, she'd leave before sunrise, her tired eyes holding dreams bigger than the city itself. "Baby," she'd tell Destiny, "education is the one thing they can't take from you." But putting food on the table meant more than just working, it meant sacrificing time with her daughter. That's where Big Mama Rose came in. See, Big Mama wasn't just a grandmother, she was the heartbeat of their home. Every morning, she'd be in that small kitchen, making magic happen with whatever they had. Even when the cupboards were running low, she always made extra. "Child," she'd say, while stretching 2 slices of bread into 4 sandwiches, "when you share your blessing, God makes sure it multiplies." That morning was different though. The heat wasn't working right, and the kitchen felt extra cold. Lisa had already left for her early shift, leaving behind her usual whispered prayer and a kiss on Destiny's forehead. Big Mama was at the stove, rubbing her arthritis hands, trying to make them work in the cold. And there was Destiny, standing on her tippy toes, reaching for the last bit of peanut butter in the jar. "Big Mama," Destiny asked, carefully spreading the peanut butter like it was gold, "why do we always make extra when we barely have enough?" Big Mama just smiled that smile, the one that held years of seeing both struggle and miracles. "Baby girl," she said, "the poorest person in the world is the one who's too poor to share. Your great-grandmother taught me that, and her mama taught her. In this family, we might not have much, but we've always got enough to share our blessings." What Destiny didn't know that morning, as she wrapped that extra sandwich in wax paper, was how her grandmother's words were about to change everything. She didn't know that her small hands were about to touch the heart of someone who could transform their community. All she knew was what Big Mama had taught her, that sharing your blessings, even when they seemed small, was just what you did. Little did she know, that simple lesson was about to cross paths with a millionaire who'd forgotten the very same wisdom his own grandmother once taught him. Here's Marcus's section, maintaining the emotional resonance. Now, let's talk about Marcus Williams. See, that same morning, in his penthouse suite downtown, Marcus was facing the biggest decision of his career. Picture this, a self-made tech millionaire, the kind of success story they write books about. Started coding in his mama's basement on the South Side, built his company from scratch, and now he's sitting on a $500 million buyout offer. But success has a funny way of making you forget where you came from. That morning, Marcus stood at his floor-to-ceiling windows, Chicago sprawled out before him like a kingdom. In one hand, his $12 designer coffee, in the other, his phone with 47 missed calls from investors. Everyone wanted to know, was he going to sell? Move the company to Silicon Valley? Take the money and run? Something wasn't sitting right though. Maybe it was the memory of his own grandmother's voice in his head, or maybe it was the sight of his old neighborhood in the distance. See, Marcus hadn't been back to the South Side in years. Sure, he'd sent checks, charity donations, tax write-offs, but he hadn't walked those streets since his company hit it big. Just take the money, his board was telling him, $500 million. You'd be crazy not to. But crazy is relative when you're wearing $3,000 shoes and can't remember the last time you felt real. That's why he found himself driving his luxury car back to the South Side that morning. No meetings, no assistants, no plan. Just a man trying to remember who he was before the millions. He parked outside the community center, the same one where he used to spend his afternoons as a kid, dreaming about changing the world with technology. The center had seen better days. Paint peeling, windows clouded with age, that basketball hoop still hanging crooked just like it did 20 years ago. Inside, not much had changed. Same old chairs, same old tables, same dreams hanging in the air, just different dreamers. He sat there, tie loosened, jacket off, looking more like a lost soul than a millionaire. His stomach growled, he'd skipped breakfast for another strategy call. But that didn't matter. What mattered was this feeling, this emptiness that all his money couldn't fill. What Marcus didn't know was that in just a few minutes, a little girl with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich was about to remind him of everything he'd forgotten. Sometimes, you see, the most important business lessons don't come from Harvard, they come from the heart of an 8-year-old who still believes in sharing her last slice of bread. The community center was quiet that afternoon, just the hum of old fluorescent lights and distant sounds of kids playing basketball outside. Destiny sat at her usual table, homework spread out, that extra sandwich sitting next to her math book. And there was Marcus, 2 tables over, lost in thought, his designer suit looking out of place against the worn cafeteria chair. That's when it happened. Destiny noticed something most adults would have missed, the way his shoulders slumped, how he kept staring at nothing, the soft rumble of his stomach breaking the silence. It reminded her of how her mama looked after a double shift, tired and hungry but trying not to show it. Big Mama's words echoed in her head, sometimes, baby, the richest-looking folks are the hungriest on the inside. Without hesitation, Destiny picked up her extra sandwich. Her small feet carried her across the floor, each step echoing in the quiet room. "Excuse me, sir?" Her voice was soft but sure. "Would you like my sandwich? My Big Mama always says sharing is caring." Marcus looked up, startled. Here was this little girl, holding out a sandwich wrapped in wax paper, offering it to him like it was the most natural thing in the world. For a moment, he just stared, seeing his own childhood reflected in her eyes. "I made it myself," she added proudly. "It's peanut butter and jelly. Big Mama says it's the best cure for when someone's looking sad." That's when something broke inside Marcus. Not the kind of breaking that destroys, the kind that heals. In his world of million-dollar deals and corporate takeovers, when was the last time someone had offered him anything without wanting something in return? "What's your name?" he asked, carefully taking the sandwich. "Destiny," she smiled. Like when good things are meant to happen. As he unwrapped that simple sandwich, made with love and the last slices of bread from a struggling family's kitchen, Marcus felt tears burning behind his eyes. This wasn't just lunch, this was a reminder of everything he'd forgotten about his community, about what really matters. "Thank you, Destiny," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You have no idea what this means." But Destiny just shrugged, that beautiful, innocent smile still on her face. "Everybody needs somebody sometimes," she said, quoting Big Mama again. "Even grown-ups in nice suits." What happened next would prove that sometimes the biggest changes in our lives don't come from boardroom decisions or million-dollar deals. Sometimes, they come wrapped in wax paper, served with a side of childhood wisdom. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. Sitting in his luxury apartment, he kept staring at that wax paper from Destiny's sandwich. His phone kept buzzing, more messages about the buyout. But for the first time in years, money wasn't the loudest voice in his head. Day 1, Marcus canceled all his meetings. Instead, he spent the day researching the Southside Community Center. What he discovered hit him hard: budget cuts, outdated computers from 2010, and kids with dreams but no resources. The same story he lived 20 years ago, still playing out. Day 2, he called his childhood friend James, now his company's CFO. "Remember how we used to say we'd come back and change things?" The call lasted 5 hours. By sunrise, they had a plan. Day 3, Marcus walked into his board meeting with a different kind of proposal. Not about selling the company, but about investing in their roots. "We're not moving to Silicon Valley," he announced. "We're building something right here in the South Side." Day 4, the paperwork began. Marcus started the Future Builders Initiative. Its mission: transform the old warehouse behind the community center into a state-of-the-art tech training facility. But he didn't stop there. Day 5, his team worked around the clock. Plans expanded. This wasn't just about one building anymore. This was about creating a pipeline of opportunities. Scholarships, apprenticeships, adult education programs. Every kid like Destiny, Marcus told his team, deserves a shot at their dreams. Day 6, the contracts were signed. The investment? $50 million of his own money. When his advisors called him crazy, Marcus just smiled. "Sometimes," he said, "the best business decisions don't make sense on paper." Day 7, everything was ready. But there was one more thing Marcus had to do. He made a call to the community center, asking about a little girl named Destiny and her family. What happened next would leave Big Mama in tears, Destiny's mother speechless, and prove that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can create waves of change that transform entire communities. Here's the powerful reveal section. 7 days after that sandwich changed everything, Marcus walked back into the community center. But this time, he wasn't alone. Behind him, a team of people carried boxes, set up displays, and transformed the old cafeteria space. Destiny was at her usual table, working on homework, when Mr. Jackson, the center's director, called everyone together. She noticed her mama was there too, still in her cafeteria uniform, looking confused. Big Mama Rose stood beside her, clutching her purse like she was waiting for either a miracle or a storm. "Some of you might recognize me," Marcus began, his voice carrying across the silent room. "Last week, I was just a stranger sitting alone in this room. Until a little girl taught me something about kindness that all my millions couldn't buy." Destiny's eyes went wide as she recognized him. But this time, he wasn't the sad man in the suit, he was standing tall, with purpose in his eyes. 7 days ago, Destiny Johnson gave me her sandwich. She didn't know who I was. Didn't know I could buy 1,000 sandwiches. She just saw someone who looked hungry and decided to share what little she had. Big Mama's hand found Destiny's shoulder, squeezing gently. "That sandwich," Marcus continued, "reminded me of something I'd forgotten. That true wealth isn't about what you have, it's about what you give. So today, I'm giving back." The screens behind him lit up with renderings of the new tech center. "We're not just building a building," he announced. "We're building futures. Starting today, we're launching a $50 million investment in this community. Free tech education for every child who wants to learn. Job training for parents. College scholarships. Real opportunities." Lisa, Destiny's mother, began to cry silently. But Marcus wasn't finished. And it all starts with one special little girl. He walked over to Destiny, kneeling to meet her eyes. "Because of your kindness, your generosity, hundreds of kids will have opportunities they never dreamed of. But you're going to be the first. A full scholarship, all the way through college. Because you prove that even when we think we have nothing to give, sharing what little we have can change everything." Big Mama Rose's voice rang out, "Hallelujah. What did I tell you, baby? When you share your blessings, God makes sure they multiply." The room erupted in cheers, but through the noise, through the tears and celebration, Destiny just smiled that same simple smile and said, "Does this mean I should make more sandwiches?" The laughter that followed was pure joy. But this wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. Here's the powerful aftermath section. 1 year later, the impact of that simple sandwich had rippled through the entire South Side community. The old warehouse behind the community center had transformed into the Future Builders Tech Academy, its gleaming windows and modern design standing as a beacon of hope against the Chicago skyline. But the real transformation? That was in the people. Destiny, now 9, was crushing her coding classes, creating apps that helped other kids learn math. Her mama, Lisa? She wasn't working double shifts anymore. After completing the adult education program at the tech center, she landed a job in Marcus's company as a project coordinator, her organizational skills from years of juggling jobs finally being put to their full potential. And Big Mama Rose? She became the heart of the tech center's cafeteria, not just serving meals but serving up wisdom to every child who walked through those doors. "Every sandwich comes with a side of love," she'd say, making sure no child ever studied on an empty stomach. Marcus didn't just stop with one center. The success of the Future Builders initiative sparked a movement. Other tech companies followed his lead, opening training centers in underserved communities across Chicago. That $500 million buyout offer? It became a distant memory as his company's value doubled, proving that doing good was good for business too. But the most beautiful part? Every morning, in the tech center's cafeteria, there was a special tradition. A basket of fresh sandwiches, free for anyone who needed one. And above it, a simple frame containing a piece of worn wax paper, the wrapper from that first sandwich that started it all. "People ask me all the time," Marcus would say at community meetings, "how one sandwich could cause all this." But it was never about the sandwich. It was about a little girl who gave everything she had to help someone else. That's the kind of investment that changes lives. The numbers told an amazing story: 500 students enrolled in coding classes, 200 adults completing tech certification programs, 50 new jobs created right in the community. But the real story? That was written on the faces of kids like Destiny, who finally had the chance to turn their dreams into reality. And Destiny? She kept making those extra sandwiches, but now for a different reason. "You never know," she'd say with a wise smile beyond her years, "your small act of kindness might just change somebody's whole world." So, what can we learn from a little girl's sandwich and a millionaire's awakening? It's simple but powerful. Sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest acts of kindness. Destiny didn't have much, but she gave what she had. She didn't know she was feeding a millionaire's soul more than his stomach. That's the thing about kindness, you never know how far its ripples will reach. Big Mama Rose was right all along: when you share your blessings, they multiply. One sandwich turned into a $50 million investment. One act of kindness transformed into opportunities for thousands. One child's pure heart reminded a successful man of his purpose. But here's the real truth: you don't need millions to make a difference. Destiny changed her community with just 2 slices of bread and a heart full of compassion. Because real wealth? It's not about what's in your bank account. It's about what's in your heart. Look around you. In your community, there are destinies waiting to shine. There are dreams waiting to be fulfilled. There are people just needing someone to believe in them. You might not have a tech company or millions to give, but you have something just as valuable: the power to choose kindness. So, what's your sandwich going to be? What small act of kindness could you share today that might change someone's tomorrow? Before you click away, remember this story. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that subscribe button if you believe in the power of kindness to change lives. Turn on notifications so you never miss another story that could change how you see the world. And most importantly, go make your sandwich. Your simple act of kindness might just be the beginning of someone else's miracle. Because in the end, we all have something to give. And sometimes, the smallest gifts create the biggest changes. Drop a comment below: what small act of kindness will you share today? How has someone's kindness changed your life? Remember, like Destiny taught us, you're never too young, too old, or too anything to change someone's world. Hit that like button, share this video, and let's start a kindness revolution, one sandwich at a time.